You know what I mean? What is it about their characters that makes it funny? What is it about their design that kind of like draws us in? So actually, Natalie and I came up with the check-in question. What is your favorite cartoon, and what was your favorite, or what is your favorite cartoon, and why? So we can go ahead if anybody wants to go first. Or I'll show, you know what, I'll go. My favorite cartoon was probably Tom and Jerry. And the animation style I always liked because it was so clean, but their contrast, like their constant back and forth was just hilarious to me. Like that was just timeless. Like that battle and like they're two we'll get into that later, I guess the design, but yeah, that was my favorite cartoon for sure. Do we have to unmute them? There we go. Okay.
Okay, yeah. My favorite cartoon would probably be Flapjack on Cartoon Network. It's so funny. Like he's so innocent, but people are so mean to him, but he's still like really nice. And I love how like there's just some parts of the cartoon where it just shows really nasty detail in like a character's face. It's like really cool. So yeah, that's my favorite.
I remember that one. That was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it looks like Sammy's trying to talk. Did it come unmuted? Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, Milo got us unmuted. Okay.
The host has to unmute you.
But does it? Oh, okay. Shoot. I'm sorry.
Okay, but I think for me, like when I was little, I really liked Scooby-Doo. Probably is my favorite cartoon. Like I don't know, I just like the mystery, I guess, of it.
That's funny. Scooby-Doo's classic.
Mm-hmm.
There. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. For me, a cartoon. I mean, there's so many. Like Simpsons is like an iconic one for me, and you know, I also loved Garfield when I was younger. And I also Tom and Jerry's too. I remember those.
Classics. I love cartoons, man. They're so relatable all the time. Like and that's kind of what's cool about cartoons is that they're all creations, right? It's not like we were talking about, like it's not like still lifes where, you know, that takes a lot of skill where you have to sit there and copy something like exactly how it is, and that takes a lot of patience, a lot of focus, a lot of skill. But what's cool about cartooning is, I'm sorry?
Did Natalie share her favorite?
Did Natalie share? Oh, she did it. I'm so sorry. You know what? We did it. No, go for it.
My favorite cartoon, I have a lot. I was just saying that we really like Regular Show. It's really funny. But also, obviously, The Simpsons is like classic. I know most of the episodes, but in Spanish. So.
For real, huh? What's it called? What was I gonna say? But yeah, what's cool about cartoons as opposed to like that, the artistic skill needed to be a really good painter or a really good still life drawer. It's different for cartoons. It takes a lot of like creativity. It takes a lot of like that to like process something, kind of understand an idea and be able to make a caricature or like really a parody of something, and kind of like be able to translate it into like translate the emotion, you know what I mean? Because the cartoons they're very emotive. Their eyes always kind of like, you know exactly what a cartoon is feeling like, and that's kind of the whole point of the cartoons, is to kind of like get you to kind of I like art in general, so the point of it is to get you to feel, but with cartoons, like they're very interpretive, and they're very us a lot of the time. So that's why that was one of my favorite things about cartoons, is that you can make it however you want it. Like that's one of my favorite things. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen because I have my laptop plugged in. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Do you guys see my screen? Like, you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, so for today, I was thinking that kind of going off the whole idea of balance and kind of like the what that means in cartoons is I wanted to have us do two characters and that touch on duality really. But what I want them, sorry, I'm trying to get like my screen configured. It's over here playing games with me. There we go. Okay. So I was talking to Nelly before, like kind of like some really good cartoons that come in duos that have that juxtaposition is like Tom and Jerry, where they have Jerry's this little guy, he's kind of the short with the big head, and then Tom is the bigger one, that bigger character. So there's that juxtaposition, that like balance of small and large, right? Or like the older Looney Tune cartoons where Muggsy, he was the mob boss, and he was a little short guy, and he had he had the hat pulled down, you couldn't see his eyes, he had a big old head, but then his henchman was the big kind of lumbering dummy behind him who was like kind of his sidekick, and what made it funny was that juxtaposition, that the mob boss is this little dude, this tiny little pipsqueak, and that his henchman is the big kind of guy behind him, but having that size right next to each other kind of emphasizes that. Same thing with Tom and Jerry, like you had the little mouse, like the big old cat chasing him makes it that much funnier that he can't catch him. You know what I mean? It makes it like that much funnier that they're having this battle, that the mouse is getting away with it, right? So that all that kind of little stuff always usually plays into cartoons, and I really like them because they're always like really simple, but it takes a lot to get down to that simple. Like it takes a kind of like more than we kind of like think about to like kind of create a character that you can either identify with or like kind of just feel for, or that you can, like just a character you like, just a character you like aesthetically. Like it takes a little bit. But we'll go ahead and kind of real quick, I'll just introduce two of my characters that I do a lot. They're called Dozier and Hazard. So that's like these two characters that I created. And Dozier and Hazard is actually the intersection of the streets where I grew up in East LA. But this is Hazard that I'm drawing real quick. And I'll get more into like the how-tos and stuff, but I just wanted to really quick bust out my quick characters that I draw. So this is Hazard.
And so does this character have some characteristics of Hazard Street? Like, would you say?
A little bit of Hazard Street, yes. Like just the name for sure. And I think the kind of why I named him Hazard as opposed to Dozier was that here I'll bust out Dozier real quick as well. So that's Hazard. And then Dozier, and you see it's this little diablito that I made, right? This little devil. And Dozier is this sad angel, the crying face. So you got the smile now, cry later, right? And Dozier's whole bag is that he's an angel. Right, so now I have these two characters that I came up with. I usually do them a lot cleaner. This is just like really quick to bust them out real fast. But having even the kind of like where you can see his face coming up. So he's the happy one, Hazard, right? All the motion of the drawing is coming upward. So you see the motion of the horns are pointing up. Everything is coming out. This eye that I have right here, I kind of like did this curve to make it that it's coming out towards us, right? The whole kind of feeling of the character is light, is kind of up, happy. Whereas right here, the motion of all the characters is coming downward. The right here by the wings, the eyes, the brow right here, the mouth is really sad. He's clearly down about something. He's clearly sad. But that kind of illustrates that level of balance that you want in your drawings, that you want in kind of your, whether it be in the same character or whether it be in kind of opposing characters, that kind of help highlight that balance really helps you kind of reinforce what the other character is feeling. So like if I didn't have the Hazard, Dozier wouldn't look as sad. If I didn't have Dozier, Hazard wouldn't look as happy. So it kind of like helps that balance of one being next to the other, that really kind of accentuates their specific traits. And so coming in with that kind of the eye right here on Hazard kind of like highlights one of the big things in cartooning is like that squash and pull. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's like squash and pull method, where if something's being stretched out, it's like pulling clay and you're pulling farther apart, so it's stretching out. When you squash something, like when you squash these eyes right here, so right, it's like something's compressing it. So he has his eye, so it's kind of bulging up where it's sad right here. So that kind of also adds to that, what's it called? That balance, that visual balance. And then we'll get into creating a couple characters right now, some custom ones. So this, I'm just gonna like let you guys, I'm gonna ask you guys what should we draw on it, on the like the characteristics of it, and then we'll just work from there. And we'll come up with our characters on screen, and then you guys can either follow along with me and draw, or you guys can just keep drawing along and listening to what we're kind of coming up with, but using it to inspire your characters. So I want to come up with two characters that balance each other, and in a very broad sense. So we can come up with like anything. It could be happy, sad, rich, poor, dirty, clean, big, little, just like a balance of opposites somehow. So I'll just start off with like two very general shapes, and we can work from there. So from here, let's start off with which one do you guys think is gonna be like, what do you guys see forming as far as characters wise? What do you see like a balance of, like are you feeling like a happy, sad, big, little, animals? What are you guys thinking?
This reminds me of a movie that came out, I don't know how long ago, but it's pretty much the characters are a tomato and like a zucchini or a cucumber.
Oh, VeggieTales?
Probably. But it reminds me of that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, and exactly. See, like that's what their character design. They had that balance. You know what I mean? They had the tall, skinny dude. They had a little plump dude. I'm kind of seeing faces. I'm kind of seeing some face, like a head structure coming out of it. So like maybe we can have like, this is the neck coming down, and we have, as opposed to like this thick neck. But one of the things that you take into account with cartooning is you break down. You can break down the face into like measurements, so like thirds. So it really depends where you structure things that kind of give a cartoon their identity. So let's start off on this round one. So if we had this face right here, right? Like we have the cross section of where the middle of the face is right here. If we bring the face down, and let's say, I kind of like this line. This kind of makes it look like a brow. Maybe like something like this. If we kind of bring the face down, keep the nose right there, and the eyes right here. Maybe we have the chin coming over, but then we have all this empty space, or this large space is the forehead, right? The kind of larger area that it's taking up is the forehead. That kind of gives the character one personality, right? That kind of gives him one look right there. But if you change up the spacing, let's say we reverse it and we bring the chin up real high, kind of keep the brow a little lower. But then it gives him kind of this like real big chin, guttural kind of look, right? And so kind of with that positioning, you can kind of change the character. You can change the view of the character. Oops, trying to clean some lint off my screen. You can change, what's it called? Just the characteristics of it. And kind of what I had started, I did a kind of like elementary version of this at the library, teaching the kids how to come up with their own cartoons. And we broke it down by, we just broke it down by face. So what kind of eyes do you think we can have on this round face right here? What eyes are you imagining? Because we have, let's see, you can do, the placement of the eyes is very specific too. So you could have them close together. It kind of gives this like cartoony, well, obviously cartoony, but like this really kind of cutesy look, kind of has something going for it. It has those close eyes. If you separate them a little bit, it kind of has like a froggish or an alien or a robot kind of look to it. Now it's kind of changing the character, right? It's not as kind of personal. When you have the eyes kind of closer over here, it kind of feels like there's a little face right there, and it kind of feels like a little a personable character. But when you start to shift the placement of the eyes, now it looks like maybe this is a frog who's sitting on a lily pad right there. But it's a little, the placement of the eyes is huge. But what kind of eyes do you guys see coming together on this one? What kind of feelings are we getting from the shorter one? Is he the sadder one? Is he the happier one?
Let's go with happy.
Happy?
And
Yeah.
Jake,
Okay, happy. Perfect. So
somebody-
what kind of eyes are we thinking for happy eyes? Maybe like really excited. He has the eyebrows kind of peeking there. Or
Give him some like big eyes, maybe.
big eyes like on top of each other, kind of like some Simpsons eyes.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
Mhm.
So let's see. How does it look? Let's see. Let's try the bigger eyes on top of each other. There we go. So this looks happy. What's another way we can make the eyes look happier or more emotive? Because you can start to play with what goes in the eyes, right? We have these shapes, but now what's in the eye? Eyelids, eyebrows, the pupil. So it's all these little things that kind of like determine the character. Because let's say we bring up just one eyelid. Now he looks a little psycho, right? Like instead of happy, he kind of looks like he's like his eye is twitching or something. If we bring both of them up, it kind of looks like now he's like super excited. He's kind of like his smile is coming up. So you see the motion coming upward. You know what I mean? We see the eyelids coming up. We see the shape of the eyes coming up too. We don't have them so that they're drooping down. We have them so that they're coming upward in the image, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about having the lighter characters have an upward motion, kind of outward motion, having the sadder characters have a downward motion, kind of that balance of that. So let's see. How do you guys feel about the eyelids? You want to keep the eyelids or you want to play around with something else?
Yeah, let's keep.
Keep them? Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. Yeah, you like the eyelids? Okay, cool. So pupil-wise, there's also a couple things we can do. We can kind of make it like that, where it's real small focus, kind of, honed in, where it brings all the focus down to that one little pupil, so it looks kind of intense. Or you can keep playing with this bigger, lighter theme, where maybe we add some bigger pupils right here that fill in, and then maybe we come in with like, oh shoot. Come in with like a little highlight. You know what I mean? So now it's kind of like it's got that bubbly look. It doesn't have as much of that freaky kind of focus. You know what I mean? Whereas if you had this look coming through, and now it looks like he's kind of crazy, right? It doesn't have that cute pupil look. Now it has this insane mastermind kind of look. Which one are you guys thinking? Happy crazy, happy cute, like he's in awe of something? It looks, because right now it looks like he's adoring something, right? When I did the other pupils, it kind of looked like he was like, maybe he saw a kitten across the street.
I think
right?
he should look happy because quarantine has me going crazy. So
Okay, yeah, good one. Okay, there we
the
go.
happiness going.
Let's use that. Let's come up with a really happy character. Okay. So let me clean up these a little bit. And I should have went over this before. My apologies, but really, how I'm drawing is how I typically sketch with. I'll draw with a non-photo blue pencil, and when I'm creating characters, I'll sketch it out with pencil underneath, and then you can go over and ink it. So to get that effect, what I was doing was drawing with this color, this shade of blue, which is to be the pencil. And then to ink over it, I would go over in black. And then you can when you have that, when you're drawing with that, you can erase the pencil from under the ink so that the ink is left on top and you only have the clean lines of the character left. So that's one technique you can do when you're drawing to have like a final product. Sometimes I mean, a lot of the times I'm just sketching, so it's like, yeah, I don't need to do that final ink layer. It's just kind of like I'll leave the pencil marks underneath and I'll have that in my sketchbook. But if you want to have like a final draft type of character that you can, put on a t-shirt or print or put on a postcard or something, you can use that technique where you're drawing like in this blue, or I mean, any graphite. I just draw with the non-photo blue pencil because you can scan it. Like if you scan the drawing with non-photo blue, only the ink will show. So that's pretty cool. You don't have to erase. You just run it through a scanner, and that the blue doesn't pick up because it's non-photo. I forgot what it's short for, but it's it doesn't come up on the scanner, so only the ink comes out. But yeah, that's kind of so I'm drawing it kind of loosey goosey right now because we'll go back over it and we'll ink it, quote unquote, ink it with the black to bring out the detail later. Drawing it kind of loosey goosey. I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something.
That sounded like your echo.
Oh, okay, for sure. All right, so now moving on to the face. We got the eyes down, right? Okay, what's the next part of the face? The nose. What are we kind of feeling with this nose? There's all kinds of ways you can go with it. So it looks like we can become, and then with the nose, you can come up, but if you come up, you kind of have this little kid, or maybe like a little piggish nose. The nose doesn't really affect a lot of the movement of it because it's like the nose has a naturally downward shape, so it doesn't really kind of like, if I did this, it wouldn't make him any less happy. It just kind of rearranges the character. But what you can do is use the nose to come up with to influence the rest of the face. So let's say I had this little cute little button nose, right? And it's like this little character with this tiny little cute button nose, and you can give him these big rosy cheeks right there, kind of popping up, right? Or you can kind of play around with like a little more of a bulbous nose, and how he kind of has this goofy character to him, right? He's kind of got this different air about him that you don't get with the little button nose. Now you have a whole different character. Or you can kind of play with the traditional kind of, but that kind of shifts it to more less cartoony. Well, I mean, not less cartoony, but less. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. In my mind, I kind of see this as like, I don't see it as a person right now. I see it kind of just as more of like a little creature. I don't know about you guys. What did you guys like get the impression of from just this? Do you see it shaping into like a person, or more of an animal, or like a make believe creature?
I think it's more make believe, like a creature.
Make believe?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's fun because that gives us a whole bunch of other stuff to play with. So, what kind of nose do you guys want to throw in this? Do you guys want to throw an animal nose, a humanish nose? Maybe we can add like a little cat nose. But I feel like I'm feeling this a smaller nose. I don't know. The big one kind of makes it feel a little more. I don't know. I just get like this plumber vibe from the dude now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just about like something about the nose. Kind of real. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like that nose. I see it kind of as like maybe like an elf or like a gnome or something, like some kind of weird.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. So like a make believe with a humanoid face, right? Then I think we should do maybe like a little button nose like that, a cute little elf, right? How does that sound? How does that look?
Yeah.
Okay, solid. So then coming from the nose, we get down into the mouth, right? And so there's a couple things you could do with the mouth. There's the placement of the mouth. There's the shape of the mouth. Is it open? Is it closed? There's a lot of, I think the eyes and the mouth are probably, I would say, the most emotive parts of the face that you can draw, because it kind of really defines, and I guess that's true on human faces too, like for the most emotive things, but you convey a lot with the mouth and the eyes. So right here, when I'm talking about placement, So right now we all have everything kind of condensed, right? We have like the eyes kind of staggered. We have it on top of the nose. So we kind of see like we're getting consistent in that regard, right? We kind of, and when you start to develop that look, you want to stay consistent a lot of the times. So like let's say we have this. If I did the mouth like down here, it's not really, that spacing isn't going with it, right? That spacing isn't consistent. It kind of looks like a little off. Like, why would you have the smile way down here? You have this whole big old area of upper lip that's like kind of like, I mean, depending on the character you want to come up with, but like that kind of doesn't go with the immediate look we're going for, right? We kind of have it. So if we have it kind of a little closer, we can kind of, it kind of feels a little more consistent with the character. It feels a little more in line with what's going on, right? And when we have the, what's it called? We can determine what do we want to do with the mouth. Do we want to have it like a closed smile and open? We can do like he's so happy he can't control himself and he's got like, you know, he's smiling at it, or he's got his teeth showing but his mouth closed, or we got like this little cute little like button smile where it's kind of coming together. There we have the cheeks and like the little smile, like he's looking at something that he adores. What are we thinking?
I think the last one was the cutest one.
The
like
last one?
looking at something.
Okay.
Yeah, really likes.
And so for that, I think that the cheeks really kind of play a big part in that too. When we have his smile kind of, because everything's so high and tight, staggered on each other, right? We got the mouth right on top of the nose, right on top of the mouth, eyes right on top of the nose. All the face is kind of real centered right there, right? It's kind of giving that all, everything's kind of focusing in this one little area, right? Okay, tight. So then from that, what we can do is go on to, I would say, the ears next. So for the ears, I think with this kind of like, when we get into those features, that's where you can kind of start to exaggerate a little more, because the ears, you can use them to define the shape of the, or the size of the character. So we got this face right here, right? If we did kind of like normal sized ears, kind of weird looking, right? I don't know. It's like kind of like, it doesn't look like it's kind of going with the face right now. If we had a little bit of larger ear though, this is kind of like, it brings in those big ears, kind of make the head smaller in a weird way. Like it kind of, that juxtaposition of these abnormally large ears kind of makes it, it gives it that cute quality. It gives it that kind of like creature characteristic, like a baby kitten. You know what I mean? Like their ears are like hella disproportionate to their head, and they got these big old goofy ears, but this little tiny head that's kind of like, it's comedic. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny and it's cute. So that kind of like, you can play with that. I kind of see some big elvish ears working out best. You can, let's see. From here, I think even like we can get away with a little bigger even. All right, tight. So we got that fleshed out. You know what we just did? Looks like we're drawing Baby Yoda. Okay, so then from this, I think we can kind of start to get into the character a little bit deeper. Like, now we got the face, right? We can start adding to it. What do we think about? Like, we had this elvish kind of quality that we were looking at. What kind of features do we think an elf would have? Well, like a Keebler hat? Does he have like a little elf suit? Does he have like a hairdo? What are we thinking?
I feel like a
Give them a part.
maybe like a I don't know, like like a little
What?
hat.
A little hat. What'd you say, Sammy?
I was gonna say like a party hat.
A party hat? Okay, nice, nice. Like he's got like a little happy birthday triangle party hat.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So let's see what we can do with that. Now that we can kind of play with. Ooh, you know what? Let me see. Whoa, that's not what I meant to do. Oh well. Okay. With the party hat, let's see. Because with that, we can play with the shape as well, too, or the size as well, too, right? Because we have this party hat. If we kind of wanted to make it this little hat that, like, kind of just rests on his little dome like that. I kind of have, like, he has this little hat that doesn't fit him either. Kind of like a loot. It kind of, reinforces that big head type of thing. Or we can make him like he's like a little kid elf, and he has this party hat that maybe covers half his ear and kind of sits on top, right? And so like we have where we can play with like what kind of characteristics are we trying to give him, right? Does that hat fit on top? Does it kind of like, is it a little more proper? Is it a little more off to the side? Like he can't really, like it's too big for him even still. And he's kind of got this little kiddish quality of him, right? So that's something we can play with. I think I like the way this one looked a little more. A little closer to the head. I don't know about you guys. What do you think? And is this the kind of party hat you had in mind?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. For this, it would be kind of funny if we even have like little tufts of hair coming out from under the hat. And you can just see the hat resting on the back of his head, right? So that we have his ears, and then we have this party hat sitting in the back. Let's see, what would a party hat? Give it a little pizzazz over here. Let's see. Does the string go in front or behind your ear for a party hat? Where does it go?
Like here, no?
Goes.
But it's really uncomfortable.
It does, huh? Okay, so what we can do, we can pull this ear out, start a little further down here. Now he's got this little party hat on, right? He's got his string going under his chin. All right. And oh, that's why. There we go. Okay, so now for this, now we kind of see, how we saw how we developed the face, and it was kind of like in 3 different parts. It was, we had the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and we structured it out with that spacing. So same thing goes for the whole of the character. So like when you have, let's say this character, we have his height like right here, right? That's where his head is at. And we have it like maybe the what's it called? His feet are about right here, or maybe like right here. With this, when we have characters that we're kind of getting at with this, we had the circular head, we had these big ears, we have like a lot of larger features up top, right? When we have these characters, to balance them out, a lot of the times you taper it down into a very small body. So we have like it broken down, and we have like that kind of thirds rule also, right? So the third would be that usually like 2/3 is what you have the dominant area take up. And so we have this head would be the 2/3 and the body would be the 1/3. Right? So we have, and that's kind of where we have the structuring come in of, that's kind of what gives it that comedic element, right? Where if we had, maybe he was a tall, goofy one, this is the 1/3 and 2/3 is down over here. I think it would go a little further than that, but that's where you kind of get that long, skinny torso. Like maybe he's this, you know what I mean? He's got these long, skinny limbs, and it's a lot different from what we were playing with originally, right? Like what we have now is this that kind of tapers down into this little smaller creature. Legs even more, kind of little small little legs, right? And so that's kind of like the part of that's like the little like technical behind the cartoons. What makes them good cartoons is like kind of, and that's kind of things that we notice when we're watching them, but we don't know why. You know what I mean? Like kind of similar to like to Tom or Jerry. Jerry's this little mouse, and he's got this big old head, and he's got this tiny little body with these little legs that move super fast. Like we can't see move, right? That kind of is the formula behind like cartooning, and keep like that 2/3 to 1/3 ratio. And then the other thing is like the balance of the shape. So I know a lot of the times like it tapers. So like let's say the like very cartoony things have like this. You see this overarching like V shape. How it comes down. It's like bigger from the head and it tapers down to the body, the legs. Same thing goes for like the other way. How I draw a lot of how I draw the Dozier and Hazard when I draw their full body. I do like their head right here, right? And I kind of there's the head, there's the nose, there's the mouth, right? Here's the eyes. When I draw them, I bring it outward so that I have this triangle going the reverse way, so that I end up drawing them with like these big shoes, big Converse, big like overextended Converse with the little like with their Dickies, and then here's their shirt, their Pro Club. But look, their head is only the 1/3 of it. Their body's taking up the 2/3 of it, and instead of having that triangle shape come down, we're having that come up. So where we have like the exaggerated features on the bottom, we have them with the big shoes that kind of make them look a little more goofy, a little more clownish, and so like that kind of reinforces the character. So we already have it developed in the face, but then the body kind of reinforces, the character that we're coming up with. Okay. Cool. All right, so it seems like we have this one pretty developed. What do we want to do? How do we want to have his arms? Is he like waiting for something patiently and his hands are behind him? Can he like not stand it and he's bringing his arms together? He's hoping for something, he's wishing. Does he want a part of whatever's out there? Does he want to get picked up? You know what I mean? Does he kind of like
make him look like he's partying?
Like he's partying? Okay, cool. So like maybe
Yeah.
like hands up. Maybe hands up. He's partying, right?
Or
So
like
got this kind of, and then there we go. Like, and see, that's a good example, Sam. You picked that up. That his partying. Look at the motion of the hands is coming up. You know what I mean? And that kind of like naturally helps define the character, that we have the hands, and he's throwing his hands up and he's partying. That's bringing the character
to make
up.
him look like he's dancing. Would that be part of the lower body, like the legs or the body, or?
That's a good question. I think to make him look like he's dancing, you know what? The lower body I feel like would be part of it, but also the face is kind of like, you know what I mean, is also another thing that you can pay attention to when you're trying to change like what the character is doing, because we change our face for everything. You know what I mean? And like we notice it very subconsciously, but we notice those changes. So when the characters emulate those changes too, like exactly what he's doing. So if we wanted to draw him like he was dancing, we could bring his top eye lid down a little bit. We can like make his mouth into like a pucker. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like, ooh, check out my moves. You know what I mean? Kind of he's like salsaing. He's got his hands up. So like that face kind of really also helps define the action of it. Well, that's a good question. Thank you. Thank you. And if you guys have any other questions, like, wow, I'm sorry I haven't made that available already. But if you guys want to ask any questions, please feel free to ask any questions. Okay, so looks like we came up with like a little baby elf. That's hella cute. I like him already. let's see what kind of, I think he's got like a little elf shirt on with some little elf pantaloons. And little baby elf feet. And he's just partying out there. I like it. And we can go and we'll go over him and we'll ink it out to kind of like the little details of layering, I guess, the cartoon and stuff. But real quick, we spent a lot of time on this guy, and that was a lot of fun. I liked coming up with him. But let's see, what can we do with the tall one? We have a little bit of time to come up with him. What should we do with the tall one? You know what? I'm gonna redraw it on another layer so that we can move it around after. So he's not too close, taking up too much space next to baby elf. And we'll draw him kind of looking the other way. All right, so what do we feel about this one? We kind of have all the motion of the other character kind of coming up, right? He's the happy one, and we wanted to do like a balance. So we want this one to be a little more sad. We want him to be a little more kind of somber. What are we thinking eyes-wise? Oh, first, let's think about this. Where do we want to put the placement of it, right? Of the face, rather, of the face on the head. So we had little baby elf over here. He's got kind of everything real close, real tight. He's kind of got a little bit, looks like maybe a little bit bigger of a chin. He's kind of looking up, so he's got the like this part exposed. On this one, do we want to have some things a little more spaced out? Like if we can give him or her a bigger forehead, that kind of brings it down. It kind of brings the motion down, right? It kind of brings that we're looking at this forehead and we're following it down to the eyes. Whereas this one, like if we were to kind of keep the face high, how we did before, we're kind of following it up to the face, right? We're following the motion of the body upward to the face. And you can, I mean, what's cool about cartooning is these are all like very general rules. You can change it and get away with anything. Like you can very well put the face up at the top and make him look sad still. It's just like little tiny things that help reinforce the character. So you can put the face up here and draw like some really sad eyes, you know what I mean? And draw like a upside down frown. And he looks sad, you know what I mean? He looks genuinely sad. But like when you kind of start to reinforce it, you kind of make him like this lonely character. Look at that forlorn forehead, right? He's kind of like the weight of his head is kind of weighing on his eyes, and it kind of pushes it down a little more. So like little things like that, they help you define your character. So where do we want to put the face? Like, and okay, another thing. I'm sorry, I just went over this. In cartoons, having things right in the middle is weird. Like that's kind of like it's visually not right. So like kind of how I was talking about keeping the 2 to 1/3. Same thing with this one. You never want to have it in the middle because it's like it'll still be a cartoon, but it's just not like there's no kind of looks kind of blank right there. There's no like kind of, and I don't know how to describe it, but like it's like just a certain it. How am I trying to say this? Let me see. It doesn't emote as much, or it doesn't like the motion isn't there because like when you have that 2 to 1/3 ratio and you have like it invites movement into the drawing, it invites like, you know what I mean, because like it's imbalanced, so it's, you know, it's everything's trying to get back to that balance, so your eye is moving across things. When you have something directly in the middle, it's like your eye has nowhere to go, so it's already kind of right there, and it just kind of feels too still. It feels too stationary, and that's kind of weird for cartoons because cartoons are very animated, right? And they move a lot, and they kind of like, you know, they have very like extra features and stuff. So doing things in the middle is kind of like, I mean, you can do it. You can do whatever you want with cartoons. You can. That's the beautiful thing about them. It's just like from an aesthetic perspective, or from like if you were trying to, you know, make a character to pitch to a show, or, you know, trying to develop a comic book, maybe little things like that, or avoiding little things like that help you like make a really, really strong character that you can develop over time, and it makes it easier to kind of what's it called? It makes it easier to make them emote. So let's say we had, we did have the eyes at the top and we have the mouth, and he's dumbfounded. He or she is dumbfounded, right? It has like this mouth all the way dropping open. He's what? You know what I mean? He's kind of like looking at you like they can't even believe it. If we have the nose, the eyes, and the mouth brought down here, right? If we have the mouth brought down here, we have the mouth, or let's say we have the mouth down here. I mean, the mouth at the bottom, but then we can use the height up here to kind of increase so now we have the character who, is normally right here. That's their face. That's where their eye placement is. But then when we use this extra space to kind of really animate that character, and now they're really surprised, right? So you're using that space and it helps you kind of animate your character later on.
I like how that character looks, but can we add eyelids to him?
Yeah, for sure. So where do we want to put the mouth first? The face. Do we want to get away with putting it at the top? Do we want to put it at the bottom? What are you guys thinking?
I think towards the top.
The top?
Yeah, the top. And I feel like for his nose, maybe like a Squidward nose, like a really long, like
yeah, that's a good one. And what's funny about that is it's coming down, right? It's got this long, elongated, coming downward shape. So that's perfect. Like it totally fits in with the character, and it helps reinforce that. So that's awesome. Let's get away with putting it at the top then. So the nose we kind of want to have coming down. That's hilarious. We'll do the nose after we do the eyes. What do we want to do with the eyes real quick? We want to keep the face up at the top. What do we want to do with the eyes? Ooh, did we lose Sam?
Somebody joined us.
Let's say,
Hi,
because there's a couple things we can do. Let's say we can make him kind of close like that, like again, like we were doing before. But we really want to have that downward motion, right? So how can we make that extra? We can keep it still that shape, right? But with the eyelids, like we were saying, you play with it, you bring the weight down. So if you kept the same eye, but you brought the eyelids up, you're going up. You have the same eyes, but you bring the eyelids down. Now it's a little better. Now it's a little more sad, right? It's coming downward. The motion is down. Do we want to use the same kind of eyes we did on Baby Elf over here? Or do we want to switch it up a little bit?
Can we see how that looks?
The same eyes as Baby Elf?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can do like with that pupil.
Yeah. Ooh.
So that looks kind of forlorn. He looks pretty sad. If we were to do, let's see what the other one would look like. Oh man, he looks tired. Like he looks sad, but he looks just like strained. You know what I mean? Like end of his rope. The other one kind of looks more like on the verge of kind of crying, right? It looks like more like tears welling up a little bit, or a little more life into. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like the bigger pupils.
The bigger pupils?
Mm-hmm. And I feel like he could be crying too. Could add to it maybe.
There we go. Definitely. Okay, and the nose, we want to go Squidward nose, right? Like that? Perfect. Okay, so now we got some motion, right? Now we got the face all coming down. With the mouth right here, I think there's a couple things we can do with it. We can do it under the nose, right about here. But what I'm noticing is kind of now it's placed in the middle, right? And remember how we were talking about that kind of looks like it's a character still, but it looks a little funny. It kind of like now he looks like a little more I don't know. Something. Let's see what happens when we bring it up and we keep it clustered. Let's say the nose goes over the mouth. So now we brought his mouth back up a little bit, right? And now it's just the nose going over the mouth. But tell me, what do you guys think? Does it look better than it did underneath the mouth, or does it kind of like how does the bringing that keeping the face all together? How does it look?
I like it better like how it is right now, like under the
How it
mouth.
is right now?
I think it like adds more character to it.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely emphasizes like how I mean he's okay, I'm gonna call him a party pooper right now, you know, like
Party pooper.
party.
Yeah.
But yeah, he feels so squished and like compared to the other character, he feels so like free and like happy. So I think that's like really good character development and like it's emphasizing the differences between both of those two. So I like it. Yeah.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you. Sam, what do you think? Does the mouth look better underneath the nose like that? Or does it look better down below the nose?
I think it would look really sad if it was like all the way at the bottom.
All the way at the
Like
bottom?
with a
Let's check
really,
it out.
yeah, like a really long face.
Oh, there we go. So this kind of changed. Now it looks kind of like what I kind of get like this sad butler vibe from him now or something. Kind of like, you know what I mean? Now like we're kind of bringing all the face down like that. I get like this like yeah, I don't know. That's funny. This looks funny. I like it.
I feel like I could even hear his voice.
Right? Right? So,
Yeah.
that's like the
Good.
coolest thing about cartoon characters. Like they just keep snowballing off each other and you're just like, oh man, I think you should I can hear, like you said, I could hear his voice. Like what do you think his voice is like, Sam?
Well, when I saw this, I just like what came to mind was like
yeah,
and
right?
sound.
Definitely.
Shay and
When I
the
saw this, I just like what came to mind was like that's my echo.
Yeah, right? Definitely. Yes, yes, yes. Natalie, were you gonna say something? Natalie?
Oh,
No?
sorry. I was gonna say that Shay in the chat said that it reminds him of the candle from Beauty and the Beast.
It does.
It's funny because you said butler, and it totally has that vibe.
Right, and that's funny. That's awesome that Shay brought that up because that definitely like I was saying, those little things that remind you of something and you don't know why. You know what I mean? Those little things that kind of click in your head of like, oh, I totally hear this character's voice, or I can tell what kind of character it even is, like that butler type. You know what I mean? So like it kind of, there's all these little things that you can play with that are super fun to kind of come up with your own little characters. I love it.
Yeah, and then somebody, I'm just relaying the comments. Somebody in Sebastian in YouTube said that he kind of looks like the donkey from Winnie the Pooh that's kind of bummed out.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Eeyore,
Like
yeah.
Eeyore.
Yeah, that came to my mind too. I definitely see Eeyore in here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's funny. That's excellent. All right. So now that we got the mouth, I think the mouth looks perfect right there, Sammy. Good call. Where do we want to put the ears? We can keep them up top, and we can make them kind of that side. We can make them that kind of shape, or we can keep them down here. That kind of changes it up a little bit. He looks a little different like that. Or we can kind of use it to bring down. What else? We were thinking, I think they kind of look best. And let's see, what kind of other ear types are we thinking about? Do you think just like maybe like a little tiny ear like that?
Elephant ears. I want to see those.
Elephant ears?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty make-believe-ish.
Yeah.
But those big ears even kind of work kind of coming down, right? Or that kind of looks too big. I don't know about you guys. That looks a little more, like I think the bigger ears are kind of reserved for the more cute ones.
I like
Maybe
the
we kinda
little ears, like those type.
What happened? Like this?
Like the little, yeah.
Little ones?
Like
Okay.
it's one of those like Easter Island type statues, I feel
It
like.
kind of, yeah, now it's turning into that, right?
I also see Squidward's house.
Yeah, for real, huh?
Like an actual head.
That's funny. Let's see. And the beautiful thing about cartoons, you keep playing around with it. So let's see what the nose would look like bigger. What if we kind of played with it and brought the nose down? Nah, it looks better the other way. I think it looked better like that. I think Sammy got it on the head with that spacing between that. I think that's kind of what hammers it home. So let's keep it like that. All right, tight. So for this, we got this big old head. And I think we're going to keep it because we want to keep that 2/3, right? But I kind of see this dude having a longer body. I don't know about you guys. I feel like I see him kind of tall now. Or how about you? Because if we kept it at 2/3, I mean we don't have to, but we can keep it. We can keep the body within this, right? And maybe actually that might look even kind of good because what we want to do is like I was saying that weight that you have. So you have this triangle shape, right? Like a slice of pizza kind of coming downward. Same thing. You want to have this triangle shape coming downwards. You want to give it some weight down here. And you don't have to, like I'm saying, this is like, these are all very general rules that you can kind of play with. But like, even like the Simpsons, you know how we talk about the Simpsons being good? You know, they always have that little, like all the characters have that little gut, that little punch that kind of brings it out into like that triangle shape, right? So we could do that. I kind of also see, let's see. Maybe that's his head. And then we can bring the body like all the way down here. So the body's 2/3. Right? And so maybe we have the body coming out. We can give him still some weight down here somehow. We can give him like a bigger belly. We can give something else. But what do you guys think? Do we keep it that small little body that we had earlier and drag the head back out? Or do we make him tall?
I like the tall because I think because the other one's pretty short, so like to make them more different. The tall body.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Tall? Okay. So let's see. Okay.
Just so you know, Jake, Sammy had to leave because she had to walk her neighbor's dog, but she said that thank you for hosting this and it was very fun.
Oh, cool. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sammy. All right. And with this one, so I was talking about those rules where you generally want to keep the weight, that triangle shape, right? You want to kind of bring the weight either tapered out, tapered up, or tapered down. But as I was also saying, you don't always have to. Like you can get away with things because with this dude, I kind of see him playing out in like a more stick figure shape. Like I kind of see him playing out like real tall, skinny, maybe like no type of weight, but the character is to have this balance. Let me see. Okay, so now we got this, right? But now I kind of see him where it all kind of tapers down maybe, and he doesn't have any real weight. But that maybe, like here's his arm coming behind him. And then with this, so the body you can play with 2/3 as well, where let's say maybe we make his torso not that big. We make his torso only to about right here. But we have his legs really long, right? And he kind of has these long, sinewy legs.
This kind of inspired me to kind of make the character look like he is also going to a party, but they're two different kinds of parties.
Ah, okay.
Dress codes.
Yeah, I get it. Like a happy kid's birthday party and like an uppity kind of black tie event.
Definitely see that in this character right now.
Yeah, like maybe he's even like one of the butlers or the servers at the party. You know what I mean? And he like hates it. He just like they're all living their rich life and he's just sitting there holding.
He's wishing he was an elf in a little party hat partying.
Yeah, And then we could give him even his own little party hat. They're at the same party. He's just the one serving the cake. All right, so what we could do, like I was saying, we can keep the body that 1/3, or we can make the torso 2/3, shorter legs. But I think having the long legs kind of really hammers home that length. You know what I mean? I think having it like this, to where it's got, he's got the long legs and the short torso. I feel like this kind of more accentuates his height and his kind of like scrawniness. You know what I mean? I feel like this kind of builds the character a little more. Okay, cool. So we have that established. We have him coming. So we kind of have like a server vibe from him. So maybe like a suit. Right? What do you guys think? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe like I don't know what those like dishes where it's like a plate and then there's like the big thing like where they have like the turkey in it. Like I don't know what it's called, but it's like one of those dishes.
Oh, like the where you like unveil something. Okay. So he's like carrying something in his hand. So definitely what we can do is kind of bring.
You have the plate and then the other could have like his towel or whatever.
So where he's holding the plate, right? That kind of has one of these on it.
I'm gonna give my Jordans. It's gonna look so cool.
So now you're gonna give yours Jordans? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, tight. So now we see it kind of coming together where he's got the one arm folded in front of him. He's holding up the server plate in the other, right? So let's see. Let's kind of start to get into the detail. So we know he's got the collar. Give him a little bow tie right there. And he's got the tux. Let's see. I think servers usually got a tuxedo. He's got the 3-piece suit on. He's fancy. He got the vest underneath. And then he's got the jacket coming. Where it kind of cuts off, those jackets that kind of like cut off and then they have the swallowtail behind them, the really big swallowtail. So we can have something like that. He has his pants all the way up high, tucked in. And let me kind of clean this up a little bit because I know what I'm drawing sometimes. It's easy for me to see through all my scribbles, but I know it's not the easiest for everybody to see through my scribbles. So I'll try and clean it up a little bit. Okay. So let's see. So we got the pants. We got the jacket kind of drawn out, right? All right.
Jake, what's your favorite animated movie?
Favorite animated movie? Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah. Shoot, I don't know. That's a great question. Oh, you know what? Jungle Book. Jungle Book. I totally forgot. Because that's my favorite Disney movie, but I didn't really think of it immediately as animated movie. I thought of it as a Disney movie. But yeah, Jungle Book for sure. What about you?
There's a film called It's Such a Beautiful Day, and another film by the same director called World of Tomorrow, and they're just simple little like figures, like stick figures, but they talk about really deep stuff like life and stuff. Like for It's Such a Beautiful Day, it talks about a stick figure character who has dementia and he's like just trying to live, and then they die, and then he starts seeing like colors. It's really good. It's a good movie, but yeah, it's animated.
That sounds really good.
What's it called again?
It's Such a Beautiful Day. Don Hertzfeld.
Such a beautiful day. I'm gonna look that up for sure. Okay, so we got the body kind of worked out. We got his legs worked out. For the feet as well, this is somewhere where we can kind of play with it. So you see how this is where we can kind of bring back that triangle shape. So you know how I have on the baby baby elf right here, he has real small feet, right? He has real tiny little baby feet. For the butler character, we're not giving him any weight, right? He's still kind of skinny, but how we can kind of enforce that shape is with his feet. So we can have him have really big feet. He's a tall guy, but we can have him have, he has his, you know, his nice shoes, but he has really big feet. And with that, that kind of brings that triangle shape again, right? It kind of brings where everything's coming down and it kind of spreads out at the bottom so that it has a little more weight at the bottom. And it's not weight per se, like he doesn't have a big old gut, but what he does have is kind of these bigger feet that kind of draw your attention to the bottom and bring the weight a little further down. So we can do kind of like them facing, I don't like them facing the same direction, actually. Never mind. Okay, cool. So now we have our character. And we have him pretty much mapped out. That's kind of like the basic of it. For him, I guess the last kind of portion we can play with is his head shape and like kind of at the top. Do we see him having any hair? Or is he bald? Is he kind of
Let's
more?
give him hair.
Give him hair. What kind of hair?
Maybe like little patches. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So kind of like. So we kind of scraggly.
A little more. I don't want to make
More
him
hair.
sadder about that. The fact that he barely has hair.
Maybe like 5 o'clock shadow.
Let's try to make it curly, actually.
Curly, okay.
It's super curly.
Let's see. Like that? Or do you mean like Sideshow Bob type, like textured hair?
I like the one before that. What does everyone else think about the hair? I'm gonna put curly hair on mine.
I kind of like him with no hair. I don't know.
Well, I was low-key kind of thinking that too. I was like, he kind of looks kind of.
I kind of like him bald.
Kind of bald? Yeah, okay. We'll go bald. If anything, maybe we'll do like 2 little hairs in the back like that.
I like that, yeah.
His little tufts, you know what I mean? So now he's got, and like little things like that kind of help you define like the depth. Like we did it on the that side where his eyes are on the other side, so it kind of makes it towards the back of the head, and it looks a little funnier like that. Okay, so awesome. We came up with some pretty cool characters. I like them. I like the little baby elf and the butler dude. We're coming up close to the end of the session, and we can do like maybe till 7:20. I can ink it, Natalie, and then we can kind of close out. I think okay, cool. So so yeah, now I'll show you as I was like talking about before, where you're using like the pen. This is kind of me drawing. This is what I would say I was sketching with. This is me drawing with.
Can I stop you just for a
second? Yeah. Sorry,
Can
go
you
ahead.
just tell us what software you're using, just so if people want to do it on, if they have that too on their iPad?
Yeah, for sure. So I am hooked up to my iPad Pro, and I'm using Procreate, and it's a digital drawing app that works really well. I've taken like a couple digital courses on it, but there's still like hours of lessons I can take to play with it and figure out more stuff. So I'm still kind of new with this. I got it for Christmas. Thanks to my sister, actually. She was nice enough to get me this for Christmas. So I've been playing with it a lot since then, but there's a lot more you can do with it. And And maybe that's even something we could do with self-help. I could do like a Procreate series or something like that. But this was this is kind of like, yeah, this is Procreate for iPad.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Yeah. Keep going.
And so yeah, so getting back to it, kind of what we were talking about was that this is what I would consider, like, if I were drawing on paper, this would be my sketch. These characters that I have right here, this would be what I was doing in pencil, and that's why I was, you know, erasing, kind of playing with it a little more, because you have time to kind of map it out and be a little scratchy with it, so that you don't it doesn't matter as much. You know what I mean? But what we're gonna do now for a few minutes while we have time is go into like inking it. So this is where you go over. This is where you would go over with pen and like trace exactly what you drew, so that you have a final character to draw over. So we have just a couple minutes, but I'll do it anyway. Just in case. I'm gonna go over characters. Okay. And so with this, you kind of want to, I usually start working from the back forward. So we have on the face, we have this eye that's kind of layered underneath the other one, right? And it's behind the nose too. So we have this spot right here. And we know that this eye is going to come over it. And we know that this nose is going to come over that, right? So we kind of have it that this eye is in the back. So we work from the back forward. So we have, and what that does is it kind of helps you just layer things, and it helps the lines line up cleaner, so that when you're inking, you know, you're inking, you're inking it. You can't erase it anymore. It's not pencil. So it's usually, this is kind of where you're taking more time to be precise with it, and kind of, you can't do this in paper, but I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to zoom in really close. You can, like, you know, move your face really, really close to the paper, but it won't be the same thing. That's one of the benefits of the Procreate. But then you can go ahead and we'll start to make this. Right, and so it's just about kind of tracing, and then it's kind of hard for me to keep my wrist straight the same way I would on paper on this. So it kind of comes out. There we go. That's a much cleaner, steadier line. All right, and then we have this nose right here, which kind of comes over. And do you see why I was saying to move from the back forward is because, look, we did that. When you kind of when you're coming over it, you make sure that this line right there lines up cleaner. So that, as opposed to if you did the nose first, let's say you did the nose first and then you were coming towards it, you're more likely to draw past the line when you're inking. So you're more likely to kind of mess up and extend it beyond. So, like, let's say I did the nose first and then I was bringing the eye line down. When you're coming down with it, you're more likely to go past, so that you have that in your drawing. And that's not what you want. You don't want that kind of, like, when you're inking it, at least, that's when you have the time to, that's when you have the chance to take the time and slow down and kind of make sure that you're doing layer by layer everything. So you come forward with it, you have more time to touch that line right there. And same thing right here, you have this line. So
Jake, somebody on YouTube has a question. They also have Procreate. Said that, what brush are you using?
This I'm using in the inking library, underneath the brush library, it's the Studio Pen. And so the Studio Pen is actually one of my favorites, because that one is, I would say, I guess, the standard for, it's the most comparable to like a brush ink pen, because you can play with the pressure. So I'm real light and then I go heavy into it, and you can get that weight change. And that's kind of what you can do. So let's say if I was doing it on the eye, I can do this and then bring a little more weight to it. So it kind of gives it a little more shade, a little more dimension.
And then if you were using like an actual pen and paper, it would be a paint, like a paint.
So yeah, the actual pen and paper, my favorite brush pen, although it's like a little, let me see. It's a little harder to get used to, so it definitely takes some practice, the brush, but it's this one. If you can see it, it's it's a Pigma Sakura micron brush, and it's the brush pen. I don't know. Am I showing it right to everybody?
Yes, we can see
Okay,
it.
cool. So it's this one, and with this one, it has that brush tip. You see that? So
Yeah.
it has that line that you can, and then it's the same thing where if you have it, like, you can do real light and then press into it to get the same kind of effect where you get that line.
Okay.
So you can go real, like real light, and then into heavy, and then it tapers off into that.
Okay. Cool.
And so
Sorry
with
to
that
interrupt.
one,
I'm just asking in case people are watching later on
no,
YouTube.
for sure, yeah, thank
They
you.
can see
That's a
what
good
tools
point.
are good for this.
This is like my little nerd setup. I have all my pens ready to go. But an easier version of that is, where is it? Where is it? Is actually this one. And so that's the really soft brush tip, and so it makes it like a lot easier to, you can get much finer lines and much thicker lines, but it's real sensitive. So you have to have a real steady hand. You got to be real careful because it'll shake. This one, it's a little bit firmer of a brush, and it has less range of motion where you can't get as thick of a brush and you can't get as skinny of it. But it's because it's firmer, it has more pushback and it's easier to control. So you're less likely to get like the squiggly lines when when you're you're trying to keep your wrist straight and your wrist is kind of barely moving and it's getting these really squiggly lines. This one's a little better for getting what's it called, for having more control of the brush. And this one it's a Tombow, but what is it? The Tombow. Damn, the label's in Japanese, but it's a Tombow brush pen. If I remember correctly, it's just the firm brush pen. They have like soft and a firm. Like literally, that's just what it's called, like firmer, soft brush pen. But if you're like just getting started with it, I would recommend the firm brush because it's a little easier to control. And so coming over, I'll start this line again. And so when you want to ink, I messed up where you only have one chance to ink. So, but you want to see from where it's coming underneath everything and start from there. So let's see, I have this contact point where it's right here, right? That's where the cheek is. So you want to start from right where it would touch the cheek. Bring it up there. And bring it down again to where it touches the cheek. And then so from right there, that's when you can come up. And what's cool about the brush pen is when you have it. So let's say you can do a thin line, be real light with your hand and do that thin line, but look, it doesn't reach, right? But if you can start it off light, and then go heavier and it'll make that connect, right? And so that's why I was saying about starting from behind and moving forward, is because it makes it a lot easier to clean it up when you're doing it on top of it, as opposed to if I had this line drawn already and then I drew these around, I'm more likely to kind of go beyond and kind of mess it up to where I don't want to have a line coming beyond the cheek line. I want to have, that's where it finishes. So that's where it's clean, right? It stays like that.
Sam, you said you were drawing a character, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I should have, before we started inking. Let's see if anybody was coming up with some of their own characters. You guys want to share?
Hold on, let me turn on.
And hold up your characters to the screen. I'll keep inking this guy, and you guys can just watch.
So I tried drawing the first one, but I failed. So I drew this quick little sun, but it reminded me of waking and baking. Nice sun, but his eyes look a little tired.
Waking up.
I drew this little cat with like triangle eyes, and I guess 2 eyes. But that was
cool.
I don't know, this guy, he drew really quick. Then I wanted to draw a little elephant, so I did that. And Yeah, I'm working on my final butler guy.
Nice. Hey, that was good. I like him.
He's tired of working his job, but he has his bling on.
Yeah, his earrings. That's tight.
He has a
Days.
Tim on one shoe and a Jordan on the other shoe.
That's tight. Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Milo, you want to show us yours?
Yeah, so I wanted to draw a clown, and then I was drawing it. I wanted to be kind of like a cute clown, like a funny clown, but then I was drawing it and it was like super creepy. So I kind of just rolled with it. Done, but like this is like my creepy clown drawing.
Oh, hey, let me see. Can you scoot it up a little bit? That's tight.
Shh.
That's super tight.
Pretty good.
That looks like a Rugrats character.
Yeah, so that's my drawing.
Does anybody else have anything to share? Was there anybody else on the call still, or is it just YouTube folk?
I think there's one more person, but her camera's off, so I'm not sure. Oh, hi,
Oh, there
Patty.
we go. Awesome. Hello, hello.
So I started late, and I'm sorry I forgot, and then I remembered that you were.
No, don't even worry about it.
But here's my my butler, and then I also put the cat.
Can you go
Can you
back
scoot
to
it
the
over a little
Yeah,
bit?
scoot over a
Put it in
little
front of
bit,
your
we can't
camera
see it.
because it'll be.
See?
Can you scoot it to your left?
Let me see if I can see because I can't see me right now.
Oh, okay.
I think if you stop screen sharing, Jake, then she could see herself.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, here we go.
Oh,
Hey, that looks good. I like
party
it.
hat is very festive.
Oh, I like the butler too. That's tight.
It's
That's super tight. The rolled up sleeves.
So thank you. That was very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jake, for the workshop. I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, you enjoyed it? Okay, awesome. Good to hear. I'm glad you liked it. I hope I wasn't talking too much. I was informative.
Thank you. It was very helpful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming.
I'm sorry, a reminder, Patty, that I told you and everybody, you can watch it again on YouTube.
Okay.
We uploaded it on our
I
YouTube
saw that
page.
you were recording it, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we're recording it and it's also live streaming on YouTube, but it will live on our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/SHGTV, and you can watch it on there. So you can see what you missed. But you caught up, so you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I know there was something with self-help today, and I couldn't remember the time. And then I started looking at everything, my emails, and I was like, where is it? And then I go to my Facebook, and I was like, there it is.
Yeah, I tried to send a reminder this morning to everybody, but I think it's easy to lose track of time.
Yeah.
But I'll send another email with a link for everybody else. So
So thank
maybe-
you. I appreciate that.
And did Patty leave? Okay. One quick thing. I'm gonna share my screen one more time before we head out. But where'd it go? There it goes. So when you start getting into it, the weight of the line is like one of the last kind of things that you can play with. So when you're inking things and you have that brush pen technique, when you use the weight of the line, meaning how thick that line is. So if I were doing a line right here, kind of, and it has like, you know, a thin kind of around it and not much to define it. If you give it like a little more weight and you kind of bring that line a little thicker, that kind of emphasizes that kind of sunken feeling, right? It kind of like brings in the like you said, it just increases the weight, so it kind of makes it a little heavier, and it kind of makes that depth feel a little more in the drawing. Like you can kind of tell a little, and it's got like a little more sadness to it, you know. But there we go. That's all. That's the last thing I wanted to share.
Oh, very nice. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Just added it.
Okay. Nice.
Well, thank you so much. And as a reminder, we're doing these every week. So next week, Milo and Sam, who are on the call, will be leading a blackout poetry workshop. So make sure to tune in. You can just watch it live on YouTube, or you can join the Zoom. But I think it's gonna be fun. And then the last week we're doing creative writing. So if you want to join us again. Sam, or Milo, do you want to say anything about your workshop before we finish this session?
Yeah, so next week we're going to be doing a blackout poetry workshop. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically you take an old book page or a page from an old magazine, and you take like a marker, and you can pick out words on the page and make a poem with it. So it's really fun, and I hope you'll join us next week. I'm really excited for the workshop.
It'll be great.
Looking forward to it too.
Jake.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank
All
you,
right,
everyone.
bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Jake.
You're welcome.
So much, Jake.